Hi, I'm Ben Gillies, and I'm here chatting with Milky.
Congratulations on the new songs. Honestly, a
Oh, thanks, man.
track. This is your first kind of purely solo musical venture. Why was
hmm
now the perfect time for you to undertake a solo project?
I don't know. The time just felt right. I've been working on new music for a fair few years, but I just didn't feel like it was time to release anything. And I think maybe I was just still finding my musical kind of niche. I did a lot of writing in the early days of Silverchair, the first couple of few records. But I think I lost a bit of confidence when Daniel kind of took over the main writing duties in Silverchair. So it took me a little while to get that confidence back. And maybe it's a combination of experience and age, or I don't know. But I just feel like now I've really found myself musically, and it's, I'm really excited by that and ready to give birth to new music. I described, someone asked me the other day of what it's like putting new music out. And I described it as like actually giving birth. And I did the action of a human being born. But then that's the song, right? That's the birthing process. But then it's kind of like you're part of the royal family. And that's when you're like showing your child off for the first time, going, here it is. What do you think?
That's a brilliant.
So, yeah, it just came out of nowhere, but I was like, that's totally what it's like with music.
So, could you tell us a bit about the song and the importance of exploring the themes present on it?
Well, the song, I don't know, the song's definitely, it's quite personal to me, but I think the great thing about music is, you don't want to write music and make music that's really literal and really obvious. Like, I walked into the corner store and bought a carton of milk and some bread and went home and cooked myself some breakfast. That's just boring. So it's pretty abstract what it's about. And I think going into the meaning of songs, like the real literal meaning, it kind of takes away the mystique. But even for me, there isn't really a literal meaning. There's a loose cryptic meaning behind it. But I think it's always good for music to be interpreted by the listener, for their own personal position. It can be, that's the great thing about music. A song can mean something completely different to one person as it does to someone else. It just depends what's going on in your life. But for me, it's kind of about, it really is about being present and being grateful, but also not taking it for granted, not taking, what's going on in your life for granted, that, to stop and just take a breath and take it in. But yeah, don't take it for granted.
The song kind of combines contemporary sounds with like 70s rock moments. What prompted you to kind of explore this new avenue of sounds, and how important was it to you to have these two worlds collide and creating your own kind of unique soundscape?
I think the 70s sound is just something that's built in for me. I grew up discovering music through my dad's vinyl collection. I then went on to kind of, to really get into the 90s kind of sound when that kind of exploded onto the scene. But I think my musical foundation is very much based in 70s kind of rock music, like Led Zeppelin. I don't know if you can see that tattoo.
Yeah.
They're my favorite band of all time. So they make up a pretty large foundation of, what I'm drawn to musically. But, obviously it expands out from that quite a lot. So I think that's why there's definite 70s flavors in there. And I don't even hear it. I don't realize that I'm doing it. I think it's just in my bones. But as far as I guess the mashing of the more contemporary sounds or the more modern sounds, I think that's because, that's just exploration. It's looking, trying out different sounds on, but particularly with a lot of the modern recording techniques through like VSTs, and it's all on computer now these days. So some of the early recordings that I was part of, we recorded to 2-inch tape. So, you know, there are some kind of clever recording techniques you can do to get different sounds and different feelings and different moods. But I just think the rise of the recording, the computerized recording, VSTs, or not the VSTs, the DAWs, the digital audio workstations, I think that stands for. It just gives you so many options to play with sonically. So yeah, you know, I think like any musician, you need to evolve and you need to grow and you need to try different processes to keep it fresh, you know, and keep it exciting.
So you worked with Jordan Power up in Byron Bay on this track. What was that experience like, and is Jordan kind of your main collaborator for the full-length project?
Yeah, he has been. I met Jordan probably about 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I was asked to do a charity gig in Sydney, and I had to rehearse at a Corona. It was called the Casa Corona or something, and it was in Byron Bay. And basically, it was a house that they rented. Corona rented it, and all these creatives and musos went through there, and we used it to rehearse. And I met Jordo there, and we just clicked instantly. I could see that he really got what I was. I mean, we did a bit of recording there, and I could see he really understood what I was trying to do. And I instantly saw that he got it, and I just liked how he approached the recording process. So we started off with a couple of sessions, and they just went so well. And I've basically been working with him ever since. Yeah, we've got a really good relationship. Like, we work really well in the studio together. I think we kind of push each other creatively as well. Like, and that's a sign I think that's a really good sign of a good producer, is when they can recognize a good idea and get the musician to go beyond their kind of comfort zone to get the best out of them. Because, you know, musicians are famous procrastinators, and, you know, you always move on to a new idea, or you get bored and you want to do something else. So it's good that Jordo kind of challenges me and makes me go to those places maybe I'd try and avoid in other situations. And, you know, and he helps get the best out of me. So and look, he's incredibly talented. Yeah, he's amazing at what he does. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
So I guess you kind of touched on it a bit there, but could you kind of walk us through your creative process when it comes to writing and recording?
I don't think there's any right or wrong way to write and record. It just depends on the song. It depends how it unfolds. Breathe In, Breathe Out, for instance, was just a little guitar idea and a vocal line, the one that was in the verse, sorry. Yeah, Breathe In, Breathe Out, it was just a chord progression and the verse melodic line. And I just kind of came up with it on the spot when I was hanging out at my parents-in-law's house, and I was in my wife's childhood bedroom with fairies on the wall. Yeah, I didn't really think much of it. And then I went to Byron Bay, caught up with Jordo. We had a session booked in, and I showed him the verse, and he really liked it. And he said, "That's cool, man." And as he was kind of setting up just to lay down that idea to see if we could do anything with it, I started kind of singing the chorus, and both of our ears pricked up instantly, and we were both like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So yeah, we laid down the two parts. It was literally like the verse and chorus, and that's how easy a song can appear. Like, and Breathe In, Breathe Out, for instance, is a really simple song structure. It's literally A B A B. That's it. There's no, it's you know, not super complex, but when you listen to it, it does feel like it goes on a bit more of a journey than just going A B A B. Yeah, so that's how that song came to be. But there's others that are, you know, that are a lot more formed up when I go into the studio. There's another track that I'll be releasing in the coming months, you know, it literally happened maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it was one of those ones that just came out of the blue. And again, I was at my parents-in-law's house. Maybe I should just come here and write. And I went into like a spare room that the grandkids sleep in, and I plugged in my controller keyboard on my computer, and I just had this melodic piano line going through my head, and I just had to get it out. It's like when you write music, you kind of have to purge these ideas unless they kind of torment you. So I put it down, and then while I was there, the ideas just started flowing. And within about 10 or 15 minutes, the kind of core of the song was written. And I even had some lyric ideas. And then, again, went up to Byron. But again, it was just more realized this time around. So it was more about Jordo and I putting down the parts and just expanding on those parts and getting the right structure. So yeah, there's no right or wrong way. Songs just appear out of nowhere, and I think you can get to a certain point as a songwriter that you almost just become a vessel, and the songs kind of aren't yours. They're just, you're just here to help them come to life. And I mean, sometimes I listen to my own music and I kind of feel like a punter. Like I don't listen to it going, that's me. I listen to it like, I feel like, oh yeah, that's a cool song by a muso that, it doesn't necessarily, it could be anyone. And I just go, yeah, cool, I like it.
How do you think it differs writing and creating within a band environment, like be that Silverchair, Tambourine, or Bento, where you have to like kind of share that creative control with other people as opposed to your solo music where you're kind of completely in control?
Yeah, a band environment versus solo is definitely different. I don't know how to answer that question. I know in a way, like you've just in a band environment, everyone's got their different roles. You're kind of like I'm head of the percussion department, right? In terms of my instrument, I have to worry about getting that right and coming up with a good part, playing it well. So, but in terms of the solo music, there's just a lot more responsibility on your shoulders, which is fun, and I kind of prefer it. Like it just means that, someone might play or do something not quite how you imagine it in a band environment. But the great thing about doing music on my own is that I get to make all the calls and all the decisions, and yeah, that's just fun.
Awesome. So a lot of the time, like when we do these interviews, we ask people like who an artist or an album that's influenced them the most, and more often than not, Silverchair is named, and in particular, drummers kind of cite you as the biggest influence on their own drumming styles, and also like a reason for wanting to pick up the sticks and get into drumming, which is like so amazing. And like some of these artists are also like as young as like 16, 17, so like they weren't really around when Silverchair started. So how does it feel like kind of almost 30 years since forming that band and 13 years since your last kind of full-length release that you guys continue to inspire musicians and people into like getting into music, playing the drums, and kind of that like because of the music and the legacy that you guys have created?
Yeah, I mean, just to hear you say that is actually really cool. I don't know. It's just like a bit of an extra bonus, right? I mean, ultimately, and those people that you're talking about would understand what I'm saying when I say that it's about the music, Like you don't start a band and you don't start to play drums and you don't write music because you go, oh, I want to create a legacy, or I want to, be someone that's known or whatever. You just do it because there's something inside you that wants to do it, and you really enjoy it and you love it, and that's, like, I think we've all got a purpose on the planet, and that kind of feels like that's what I'm here to do, it's to play and create music. So if there's a knock-on effect from that, that influences other people to go and discover, you know, this secret religion, which is like, you know, playing and creating music. Like that's just cool.
And so, what was something that you wish you knew at the like kind of beginning of your musical career that you know now?
I reckon I would have done more like training in other instruments. Like I can play guitar and piano and bass, and that's kind of how that's the foundation of how I write my songs. But sometimes I get frustrated that if I want something to sound a certain way, I don't have the skill set to be able to do it. So I need to get, you know, say I do a lot of work with Scott Applin. He played in Silverchair for a little while. He's the musical director of The Voice. Lovely bloke, and he's an amazing pianist. And, you know, sometimes I'll go to him and be like, hey, I've got this idea, but I want it to sound like this. Can you help me? And, you know, he's one of those guys where you can just go, oh, you mean this? And it just sounds incredible. And often, you know, more often than not, someone like that, like Scott, will actually take your idea and expand on it and make it, you know, go beyond what you thought it could be, which is really cool as well. So that's one thing I think for any aspiring musicians, just go and learn and learn and learn as much and jam as much in your brain as you can, because I describe it to people as like a tool belt. You know, you need all your tools and your pieces of 2x4 and all your screws and stuff to be able to make build whatever it is you want to build. I mean, even when COVID first hit 6 months ago or whatever it was, I had just started some piano lessons. So even now, like you can never stop learning. You can never stop. You can never stop expanding on what you know and experimenting. And so yeah. And I guess that's part of the lesson as well. Is like it's not do it when you're young if someone like me is telling you to do it, but also there's never a right or wrong time to do it. Just do it.
Great advice. So what has been the most challenging part about creating music during the current pandemic?
I've been pretty lucky during COVID. Obviously, I've done some work with Jordo during this time. Jordo's in Byron Bay. I'm currently in New South Wales. So we were able to kind of keep working. And in terms of my own personal writing, like, you know, I just need me in a room with a keyboard or a guitar. So I'm just able to continue doing what I've been doing for the past few years.
So you've also had business ventures outside of music. You and your wife are co-creators of La Mascata. What other ventures would you like to explore outside of music?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I almost think the experience with Housewives and other businesses outside of music is over the last few years have almost made me kind of appreciate how lucky I am to be able to do music, and just how much I missed it when I wasn't doing it, when I was working on other things. So yeah, I can't really see myself doing anything else right now, because I've refocused on music as well, and I'm enjoying it so much. You know, I can't see myself doing anything else. But I guess that's the ebbs and flows of how it goes, right? Like I needed to go and have those other experiences to go, oh God, I really miss working on my music. But you know, even with music, there does come points where it can be too much. Like even so, for instance, on tour, you know, often I'd come off tour and I wouldn't want to hear a single note for a couple of weeks. You know, I didn't want to listen to music, didn't want to play it, didn't want to write it. You just need a break. Well, I do personally. But yeah, look, it's just, music's just, it's in my veins, it's in my bones. It's, that's me. I don't need any other hobbies.
So what can fans expect expect in terms of like the sonic sound of your full-length release? Is there going to be some more experimentation? What do we have to look forward to?
Well, the plan at the moment is to release basically a string of singles. I think the current state of the music industry means that you're able to do that, which is really handy because I'm releasing it independently. It means I don't have the pressure of having to do a full-length album. And I do find with full-length albums, even the Silverchair ones, right? You work on this body of work, and then you put out, 10, 12 tracks, and all the singles get their kind of time in the sun. But, you've worked really hard on all these other tracks, on the album tracks, that I just feel like sometimes they just fly a little bit under the radar. So yeah, that's my plan, is just to put out a bunch of singles and just see how it goes. Maybe in 12 months time, if I've got, half a dozen or more singles out, then, do a few more tracks and package it up and release a record or put out a vinyl or something. But I don't know, that's, it's not really, nothing set in stone at the moment.
Do you have any kind of post-pandemic touring plans? And if so, what can bands expect from a live show?
I've got a plan to start touring using a platform called Parler, which basically puts out to tender to your fan base to have you play at their home, which I think would be really fun. And you set your audience number, so they have to guarantee, say if you do 150 people, that person guarantees that they're going to get 150 of the people at the show. I just think it might be a really nice way, a really ground roots way to tour the songs, and I think a good way to cut my teeth in terms of fronting a band as well, like singing, and I'm not sure what other instruments I'm going to play. And that's the plan. I think sometime in 2021, I'll put it out to tender, and then if you want me to come and play at your house, look out for it. Actually, go and subscribe at bengillies.com, because that's ultimately where it will be released. John Bonham and James Brown. Hans Zimmer. Probably Led Zeppelin, say number 4, I think it is. Star Wars. Oh, Rock in Rio, for sure. Breathe in, breathe out. Page and Plant at the Hollywood Music Bowl was pretty special. And also seeing David Bowie, we played on a festival in Germany. I think it was called Rock am Ring, and David Bowie was on the bill, and we got to stand side stage and watch him, and it was fucking unreal. Rock in Rio, 250,000. Racking my brain. I don't know. I think when you go on tour, like you're very much you're kind of in tunnel vision. You got to get the job done. So you're not too worried about who else is there. You've got a job to do, and that's your focus. So it could be the biggest, it could be like, you could be doing a tour with, the 20 biggest artists on the planet. And, for a split second, you go, oh, cool, that's pretty cool. But then the rest of the time, you just say, I've got to do a good show. Well, that's me anyway. That's how I operate. I don't know. I keep really noticing Billie Eilish. I like Billie Eilish. I think it's not the typical kind of music that I would be drawn to, but I like her stuff. Like that new song that she brought out. I think it's called My Future or something.
Yeah.
Like, I like it. It's really poppy, but it's just her voice is so awesome. I don't know. I always really liked music, but I do remember a moment sitting in an assembly in primary school and seeing the school band play and watching the drummer and thinking and kind of feeling it, right? You can really feel the drums. I could feel it and thinking, that's fucking cool. I want to try that. And going home and telling my parents. And my parents had a rule that they would only action something when I was a kid if I asked for it more than 3 times. So they said I was pretty persistent with the drums, that I just kept going and going and going. So they kind of finally gave in. So whoever was the drummer at that time at the Junction Primary School, like, thank you, because, you know, maybe if it wasn't for that moment, I wouldn't have started drums. But I do believe I would have eventually ended up on some instrument anyway. But to be honest, drums felt right.